beer as well.
We've all got beer.
Very important.
Light's gone red.
I'm ready to roll. Oh, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks, yeah.
You did a poster signing today, didn't you? Is that right?
I did a little stopped off at record
Yeah.
shop in Stockton, yeah. It's a really nice little record shop, so lots of independent stuff and vinyl. And the guys running this gig asked if I'd come over and do something there first, so I did.
Right.
It's great, yeah, it's great. There's about 20 people in, did a few songs, unplugged, and signed some posters.
I kind of want to try and keep this in some way like in a linear fashion, and I know it must be irritating now because every interview you must be very heavy adverts type questions.
Always has been.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to keep them at a minimum really. What I wanted to ask was, as far as I know, and there's no recorded, I don't know about live, but there's no recorded versions of the adverts ever doing covers.
No, we never did it. No, never did a cover.
Which is interesting because a lot of punk bands at that time used to fill out the sets and sometimes their albums as well with covers. Did you not do covers because you wanted the adverts to be their own thing? You didn't want to kind of ride on the coattails of other people's success, essentially, in a way?
No, it was just that I was doing it because I wrote songs, you know, so the band was like, you know, the way I expressed the song, so it didn't make any sense to do covers because the reason I was in a band was because I wanted to get my songs out. So the thought of doing covers never occurred to me.
And you still don't really, do you? I mean,
I've occasionally done like as a tribute. I've done Identity and I did Babylon's Burning once. But I mean, I don't even know how to play most covers. I mean, I thought it'd be nice to do something to mark Polly and try to look at what X-ray specs numbers I might possibly be able to figure out how to play on guitar. I just hit on that one, and it's all the same sorts of chords that I use. So I thought this one's made for me. You know.
The other adverts question was about the second album, because with the first album, essentially, I mean obviously, but you had up until the point of recording it to write it, you had all the songs you'd kind of done as younger that would have suited that. Did you feel the second album you didn't have enough time to? Was there some kind of pressure towards it?
No.
Or did you feel that because now you had some kind of fan base, there was a kind of pressure with that, or was it still very?
I don't know. I felt very free about it, and I didn't feel under pressure to write. I was writing more than I needed. I was like writing songs with Richard Strange at the time as well.
Yeah.
It's a sort of side project. So I actually had more stuff than I knew what to do with, and you know, I didn't realise that the audience we'd built up with the first album. I didn't realise they'd be so kind of fixated on that sound, to think that was what we did, because I never thought when I started the band that we were going to do one sound and it would always be like that. I mean, I didn't really think about it at all, but everything I'd done up to then, bands I'd had at school and that, it was always like the sound changed as it went along. And I somehow thought the advert sound would change along the way as well, and the songs were different for the second album, and just tried to do something different.
It's really interesting with like a fan base. A lot of fans do kind of stray away from you if you try and do something different, which I personally think that's just really strange.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, certainly when you start off in a band, I'd never even thought about that, aspect of things, that we might be sort of
have a fan base.
Have a fan base, and then they might sort of consider that was all you did, like actually restrict what you can do. So that was something to learn.
I did a bit of research and I found something that involves you and Timmy, not Tim, I completely forgot the name, but Production House.
Yeah, that was Tim Cross. Yeah.
Tim Cross, yeah, I thought it was Tim, yeah. Now all I could find was a single and it had the B-side as well. Mm-hmm. Is that all you ever did with Production House? Why was it labelled as Production House and not?
I mean, the thing was we were making demos all the time from all the way through the 80s, and probably did like 150 songs or something, 100 to 150, and we basically just make demos of them, and then we didn't know what to do with them, and no one was interested in releasing them, and at one point we thought, well, let's make a vinyl single, so we thought we'll give it a proper name. We called it Production House, and and pressed up the singles, and then didn't know how to sell them. I mean, it's like it's kind of DIY in the mid '80s just wasn't working. You know, there was no network, so you could get as far as like lashing out to get a single pressed up, but then there was no distribution, and we weren't doing gigs, so you couldn't put out a merch table. You know, that didn't happen so much in the '80s that bands sold their own merchandise, and we weren't doing gigs anyway. So basically, we ended up with you know, like 1,000 singles, which gradually have gone mouldy in my cellar.
Was that literally all you thought production house was going to be, or did you think maybe it could have gone somewhere?
We just thought, well, you know, we were making lots of songs which we really enjoyed, and I put one lot of those songs out already on a CD called Sparkling the Mud, which is just all those demos.
Yeah.
And there's another one coming out later this year of the other half, and we didn't really think about what it was going to be. We were just doing songs. We thought, let's give it a go at making a single out of it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting actually. I was going to say about Sparkling the Mud because you did an interview with Tom Robinson, and you said the next album probably won't be for another few years. I was going to say, are you doing the Sparkling the Mud Volume 2 to kind of bridge that gap?
No, not to bridge a gap. It's just you know, I mean, Coming Into Land only came out last year. So I'm you know, writing songs as I go along, and I'm not bridging a gap. I just really I'm trying to concentrate on getting as much out that hasn't been out or, you know, hasn't been available.
Yeah.
So when I get time, I'm trying to, you know, so I want to get Sparkling Mud 2 out. I want to get a cheap anthology out. I'd like to get a Good Explorers anthology out. March the Giants hasn't been available for a long time. Immortal Rich you can't get hold of. You know,
what about Sleaze? They're not going to put that back out?
I am going to put it out actually. I've had a vinyl rarities label in New York who seems to asked to put it out, so I thought, well, it's about time I stopped resisting.
Well.
Everyone's telling me they want to hear it, so people have heard some parts of it, seem to like it, so I might as well.
That's what give it a shot.
Might as well.
You said about your last album coming out in 2011, and there was a documentary recently came out. I think it was aired last month, and you say on that you'd love more time to record and more time to write, but still you're releasing albums every 2 or 3 years, full-length albums, and a lot of EPs and other stuff in between. That's better than most people do. And you're still like, oh, I want to do more.
Well, I do want to do more, yeah, but I want to do more gigs as well. You can only physically
do
so many. I mean, the thing is about, you know, being at this level of what I do is like, you don't reach as many people. You reach a few people every night, and that means you have to keep on going. Otherwise, you know, it will just fall away. And it does mean you have to spend a long time on the road, and you know, I don't get as much time to concentrate on writing as I like.
As well as saying like spending a long time on the road, you tour relentlessly. Does that affect like your relationships, your friendships, obviously your relationship with Gay as well?
Well, it's more friendships really, because I've got friends all over the world. It's brilliant,
just hard,
you know. It's just, you know, it's strange because sometimes you see your favourite people and then you say goodbye after a few days. And well, I probably won't. Some of my best friends, I probably won't see them again for a year.
Yeah.
You know, it's a weird feeling, but it is nice to have friends all over the world. It's really great. I'm really, you know, lucky to have that.
Now, you play Rebellion every year, and generally you play every day. I heard that if each day you play, you get a free merch table.
That's true.
Is that why you're doing it? Is that what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love spending all day behind the merch table. Actually, I do quite like spending all day there behind the merch table because you sit there and everyone comes past and says hello. It's really quite a nice experience, but it is also quite hard work when you're trying to think about getting on stage and you know, kind of getting your guitar in and out and all that stuff.
Now, again, with this documentary that's come out, I was really surprised. I was watching it and like, because I got interested in you like quite many years ago, and I'm also a big fan of Henry Rollins. I didn't realise he was a big fan of you, and he's on that documentary, and basically he says every lyric he writes, he imagines you on his shoulder saying, "Make this count." That's got to be kind of like a good thing that you've influenced someone. I mean, that guy's huge.
Well, the thing about Henry is that he's a huge music fan, you know.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
really
definitely.
appreciate, you know, you can tell from his radio program that he's got such a huge knowledge of music and,
Oh,
you know, and appreciates good music. So, you know, it's nice to have him on my side.
Also, Rollins does like the tour diary things as well in
Yeah.
books, and what you did yours before. Do you think maybe you inspired him? Do you think it's just a coincidence?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he was doing this before
Oh, really?
I did mine. Yeah, he's been doing it for a long time. But they're pretty different as far as tour diaries go.
Yeah, yeah. But it's more like that kind of idea of having published tour diaries. I think it's a good idea, really. It really gives an idea of what living on the road is actually like. Because a lot of people see it as a very glamorous thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of parts of it that aren't that.
Well, that was the whole point, really. You know, I first started writing them just because to get it off my chest. You know, like it's not really always that much fun. But as they went along, I started finding kind of more and more positive stuff and started writing more about what was really good about being on the road and like the good, interesting things that happen that, you know, wouldn't happen if you weren't doing it.
The kind of teenage punk rock angst slowly faded out from the writing.
Yeah, well, sometimes when I look back and I think the first book after it's just me moaning, but it served its purpose, you know, because at least when something dreadful happened I could think, well, I'll get a good chapter out of this.
Oh yeah. Depression sells. You also, when you was younger, you used to do a lot of prose stuff as well. Do you try and implement that into it instead of just doing like a straightforward tour diary? You try and like flower it up a bit?
I try and make a good story out of it because it's the way you tell it, you know, with everything, you know, whether it's songwriting or any kind of writing, you know, there's 1,000 different ways to write about something. So yeah, I definitely do try and find a way to make a good story out of it with a beginning and an end, and you know, to give it some kind of form.
It's that kind of like Hemingway, Bukowski kind of
they're
implementing their own lives
Yeah.
and making it into a narrative form.
Exactly, yeah. You know, there's one person can write about, you know, visiting a country, and then you're not interested, another person can make it come alive. So, I mean, I suppose that in the end is what you're doing. You're trying to make it come alive the way you feel it, and it's not as easy to do that as a lot of people think, you know, because it can come out really flat on the page.
You've got a new book coming out soon?
Yeah, cool.
What's it called? Is it something along the lines of Adventures of the Emergency Cheese Sandwich or something?
Tales of the Emergency Sandwich, and somehow the Emergency Sandwich has been a hit in the other two books, so I thought I'd give it a book on its own.
Is there a lot of, I think you call them UNMs?
Unexpected meat moments, indeed, which does make a few reappearances in book 3.
Oh, well that's good. I mean, I've had it before. Especially when you're
I thought it deserved its own name.
Oh yeah, definitely. I
Anyone who's
completely agree.
vegetarian knows exactly what that means.
Yeah. What's interesting, you've done 2 songs now in German, and you seem, I mean this is arguable I guess, but you seem to have a kind of a bigger following in Germany. In Germany. Have you ever considered moving there?
Well, I need to move there because I can get there in an hour and I can stay at, you know, I still live at home. So no, I don't need to think about that. I mean, I love living in London. I've lived there, you know, for 35 years, and it's actually, you know, I can get to Düsseldorf quicker than I can get to Manchester. You know.
Which is, it sounds crazy.
It's quite often cheaper as well. Price of train tickets these days, so it is crazy. But and the other thing is, I go, you know, the gigs I get a few gigs here and there in Britain, but I go to Germany and do a 3-week tour.
Yeah.
So the whole network was, you know, the way the gigs, you know, the supporters of gigs and the people who put the gigs together. There's so many more of them. They have such a good network in a positive kind of way about booking club gigs. You know, whereas Britain is very corporate in the bands it puts on generally. You know, there's always nice little places like this where there's a couple of enthusiasts put the gig together, but there aren't that many of them. That's the problem.
One thing I heard about Germany was the fans are very kind of laid back.
Oh, someone trying to get in. Should we open the door and
We'll
tell
try
them what's going on?
Pull the top.
We just, I don't know. He's given up whatever it was. So.
Yeah, in Germany, I've heard stories about very kind of laid-back fans and they're very energetic, and at the end of the song they just kind of clap politely. Is that true, or is that some kind of... Yeah, is that...
Now they go nuts.
Really? Because I've heard so many stories about being very...
No, that was brilliant.
very standstill kind of...
No, I sing along. I mean, it changes from area to area. I mean, like everywhere in the big cities, some of them are a bit standoffish and, you know, and others, like Berlin, they just go crazy. So yeah, it varies, but on the whole, they're really good audience. Well, let's go and sort this out. We just locked you out so you didn't knock over the camera.
Sorry, mate. Apologies.
It's okay.
You want to buy some stuff?
I'll be right out when I've done this.
Alright, yeah.
Someone wants to buy some stuff. Excellent. It's all going
Sales.
very well.
There's only two more things I want to ask anyway, and one of them is just a complete joke. You probably didn't punch me for it.
Better say that one for last.
Yeah, that's well, yeah. The first one, like, are you worried that a lot of people who come to see you these days kind of view you more in a way a nostalgia kind of thing? They come just to hear like the adverts kind of stuff.
I've noticed, you know, or if they do, they simply like the
You
rest
still
of
get
it as
into
well.
the other stuff, yeah.
That's alright, if it brings them in and then they get what I'm doing now, it's fine.
Yeah, fair enough. And finally, when you was with
Is this the punching
This
question?
is the punching question. When you was with the Explorers, what the hell was with the umbrella?
Yeah, pretty great. I'd still be using it now if I wasn't playing guitar. It's very hard to play guitar and hold an umbrella at the same time.
Well, I'll learn your songs and I'll do the acoustic, and you can prance about your
If you like the umbrella so much, I think that's what I'm hearing. Come up on stage and swing one about while I'm doing the acoustic set tonight.
It's like Morris said, but not with a daffodil. Better, miles better. Anything's better than
It
Morris
wasn't daffodil anyway. It was
tulip, was it?
No, it wasn't. Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
It was a gladiator, wasn't it?
No idea.
Please write in with your answers.
If you know what flower Morrissey had,
Everybody had it.
I don't. I wasn't sure, no.
Everyone else knows it.
Yeah, probably. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
Cheers,
Cheers, man.
I'm going to go and sell this shit now.
Yeah.